So here is the finished organization of my palettes. It is what they look like. That top shelf, those are all my singles. So yeah, that is what it looks like. I think I'll pull all of these ABH and Norvina palettes through. So I have these 3 Norvina palettes, and they are pretty cute. We've got the Mini Pro Pigment Palette Volume 2. And this is cute. It's got some pretty vibrant colors. And then we've got the Volume 3, which this reminds me, let's see that beautiful shimmery color. And then that glitter. But this actually reminds me of the Melt Muerte palette. Then we've got the Volume 1, which is this one. It's got those really pretty shimmers and quite a few mattes. I really wanted to get the Norvina Pro palettes, the large ones, but decided against it just because obviously I have a lot of makeup and I don't need those. So next we will go through these. So this is the Artist palette. I want to say this is one of the first ones that ABH came out with. I don't know if this is still good. I mean, it still looks good. Yeah, it still looks good. It doesn't feel weird. So I'm gonna keep it because it's ABH. Of course, everybody and their mother loved Modern Renaissance. Mine is completely just ripped apart. So yeah, I do love this one. I'm not gonna get rid of it. Alright, next I have the Norvina palette, and it is gorgeous. I love this palette. I've used it a gazillion times. That's what my palettes look like when I use them a ton of times. So next I have the Riviera palette. I've also used this one a lot of times. This one I really love. This was their first attempt at doing like a really colorful color story, which I honestly really loved when they came out with this. I had to get it right away. I have my Alyssa Edwards palette, and this is a palette that I have not used yet. The colors are super bright. I do love it. The color story is beautiful. So I'm gonna have to, I want to stick my finger in there, but I don't want to yet. And the names on this are so funny. Here is my Carly Bible palette. This is a palette that I wasn't 100% sure that I wanted. I kept going back and forth with it. I wanted it, I didn't want it, then I wanted it. And eventually I got a really good deal on it. I think I paid like 15 bucks for it or something on Mercari. It was brand new, but this shade right here, it came broken. So I literally got it for like 75% off. So I got a great deal on it. It was worth it. All right, and my favorite ABH palette is the Jackie Aina and Anastasia palette. This is this one and the Norvina palette. I would say those are my absolute favorite. This color here, Credit, is beautiful, and this has a mix of warm and cool tones. It's just beautiful. I love this palette. I'm gonna go into some of my Hot Topic palettes. So I saw this Mulan one, and I just had to have it. Look at how cute that mirror is. And I had to have it. I do not like Hot Topic quality, but just this palette is adorable. Look how cute that is. So I had to have this. This is not one that I'll be letting go. And another one that I absolutely needed to have but haven't used is this handbook for the recently deceased. It's a Beetlejuice palette. Haven't used it. I'm pretty sure that it's not gonna be very good. It's not gonna be very good quality, but I just love the packaging. I think it's super cute. So go Hot Topic and Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. And then I saw this. This is back when I first started getting into makeup. Probably when I got more serious into makeup. And I saw this at Hot Topic and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have it. And I tried the shadows and they suck. Like, they don't just suck, they like suck. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. That's a for sure declutter. I'm not gonna I definitely am getting rid of this one. All right, so then I have this other Hot Topic palette. It's called Wonderful Nightmare, and it's another Beetlejuice, or not Beetlejuice, it's a Nightmare Before Christmas palette. And I absolutely had to have this. I'm sure that the quality is terrible, but that's okay because it is Nightmare Before Christmas. That is my favorite Tim Burton movie. I want to say my last Hot Topic palette is this palette from hey, what's the name of that wrestler? The girl wrestler?
China?
No, the English girl. Paige? Is it Paige?
Paige.
Okay, so this is a makeup brand from Paige, and it's the Kind of Freaky and Kind of Geek and a Little Geeky palette. So you've got the really like sweet side over here, and then you have the side that's a little bit more like vampy or whatnot. So I really like Paige, or her name's Soraya Jade, but Paige from WWE. So that is the main reason why I got this double-sided palette. And it was a really good deal too. I want to say I got it for like 10 bucks or something. It was a really good, it was a steal. A steal. My one and only MAC palette that I have left. I always find MAC palettes to be super boring. So I got this one. And this is the Shiny Pretty Things palette from MAC. And when I bought this, I thought it was so pretty. And then my son, when he was 3 years old, got a hold of it and he took a knife to it. So it is destroyed. But I keep it just because it's the only MAC palette I have and it is nice. So, yeah. Look.
Doesn't quite sound nice.
Well,
I took a knife to him. Because I got into it and started playing with it.
well, he took a knife to it. That's literally what he did.
Oh yeah, but when people are like, damn, you got a psycho-ass son over here taking knives and shit.
Well, it was a butter knife. So it's not like it was...
Oh, I pictured Chucky.
Of course you would. Alright, so I have my only Ofra eyeshadows. And this is that palette. It has this beautiful bronzer and a couple of other nice little face colors. But then we've got my favorite highlight, and the eyeshadows are actually nice eyeshadows as well. So I do need to use this a little more often. The name on this is the Free Spirit palette. So, and again, that's what it looks like. It is a very beautiful palette. All right, so I've got my one and only Alamar palette. I actually really like Alamar a lot. I just haven't picked up any of the other products just because obviously I have enough. but this is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. I really love it. You can see like these, look at that shimmer. They are just gorgeous. And even the mattes are really good. And they blend really well. So yeah. And this is the Reina del Caribe palette. What? Because I said Reina del Caribe? Aww. My husband loves to make fun of me. It's his favorite thing. That's okay though. It's our aesthetic.
I think you should be talking about my ass.
Okay, let's see. Next, I'm going to go ahead and go over Storybook. And I have Storybook Cosmetics. We have the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory palette. This is what the outside looks like, and I have all of the pieces that go with it. I have used this before, but this is just adorable. You have a bookmark, and then you have the golden ticket from Willy Wonka. Super freaking cute. Look at this. These shadows are nice. They're very pretty. Storybook's eyeshadow formula is really good. And see, you can see all of the other little things going on with it. Look how pretty that is. And then I have the Storybook Witchcraft and Wizardry palette. This is actually a fake palette. So, is this the fake palette or is it the other one that's the fake palette? Hold on, let's look. I can always tell by the color. Okay, no, this is the real palette. And then this is the fake palette. So I got it and realized that it was fake because it didn't have the binding and the colors are off. If you can see, this is a shimmer in the fake palette and it's actually supposed to be a matte. This green is a brighter green when it should be a shimmer that's just like a more of a grungy green. The blue is a little brighter in the fake palette. So yeah, this is the fake and this is the real one. I keep them both because I like the fact that they have similar color stories, even though they're supposed to be the same palette. And next I have the Burn Book. And this is what it looks like. It's super adorable. Ouch. And this is what the colors look like. Look at that beautiful green. And that silver. Look at how beautiful those are. They're just so pretty. They're beautiful. So this is a palette that I got from a boxycharm, and it's a Storybook Cosmetics palette, and it looks like this. And this is the Fairy Tale edition. This is a Briar Rose, and so yeah, those are the beautiful shades. This is a really pretty palette. I actually really like it. As far as all of the drama with Storybook Cosmetics go, I just don't try to pay attention to any of the drama that happens. It is what it is. It happened, and I don't care. So, and this is a Maybe palette. It's Take Me to Los Angeles. I want to say I got this from, like Mercari maybe. But yeah, this is a pretty palette. I have swatched it and I've used it. I have the Winky Lux palette here. And this is the Mermaid Kitten palette. And I love this palette. The color story to me is just a perfect color story. The greens and the purples and the peaches, I think it's just beautiful. I skipped a Peachy Queen palette earlier on accident because it was in a different area in my shelf, but look at how pretty this is. Ooh. It's all shiny, but yeah, this is the Sugar palette and it's really pretty. I am keeping all of my Peachy Queen palettes. I'm just gonna keep doing some of my single palettes, and then when I get to ones that I have more of, I will do that. Now this is a BYOP from Lethal Cosmetics. I had a subscriber send this to me, and this is beautiful. I have swatched it. I have not gotten to use it yet, but it is absolutely gorgeous. I have Lunatic Cosmetic Labs, and this is the Supernatural eyeshadow palette. This is what it looks like, and it is really pretty. It's also very, very neutral, so I have used it. I don't actually love the formula of this. Lunatic actually has a really good face palette that I use quite often. That formula I love, but this one I'm just not a big fan of. But because it's Supernatural, I am going to keep it. I recently picked up this Nabla palette, and it's the Secret palette, and let me tell you what, this is an amazing formula. If you have not tried Nabla, you definitely need to. This is a beautiful palette. Gorgeous. I have this palette called the Sinful Eyes palette from Makeup Addiction, and while it is a beautiful palette, the shimmers are a little weird. They're meant to be used wet, and I did not know that when I used it, so I'll need to just use it a few more times and see if I end up liking the palette, because the shimmers are just different. So yeah, there's that. This is a palette from Deck of Scarlet that I got. It was sent to me to try out from Deck of Scarlet, and it's cool because it has 5 mattes and 5 shimmers. It was a nice formula, but I definitely don't see myself subscribing to Deck of Scarlet. That's just, obviously I have more than enough palettes. I don't think I need to subscribe to a palette subscription. So, but this is a beautiful palette, and the shadows are nice. So if you wanted to try Deck of Scarlet, I would definitely suggest that you do, unless you have too many palettes like I do. This one from Didnt. Put that one away. This is the Color Obsession Pressed Pigment and Glitter palette. This is a beautiful palette. It works really well. I have used this several times, and I am going to keep it. This is actually really hard to come by. It was limited edition. I don't think that it's available anymore either. Rebel Rouge Labs palette. This is the Losing My Religion palette, and this is a beautiful palette. The shadows are amazing. The company, Rebel Rouge Labs, I really like them. When I got this palette, they had wrapped it so cute. I mean, it was just so cool. They had sent it all wrapped up in paper. It was just really cool. I had never seen a brand do something that awesome before. A lot of drama around this company, Bombshell Cosmetica. This is the only palette that I have. The formula is really nice, if you see those shimmers, but even the mattes are nice as well. See, those are really pretty. But yeah, this is the only one that I have, because after I got this palette, they pretty much stopped making makeup. So I don't know where they are or what happened to them, but But yeah, this is the only one I own. This is the only Lorac palette that I own. It is the, it's okay, Shine Bright Lorac palette. I actually have wanted to try other Lorac palettes. Look how pretty those are though. I have wanted to try others just because I've heard really good things, but again, I have too many and I'm much more into indie brand palettes, so I just haven't gotten another Lorac palette. So this is the palette that I got in PR from a company called Witchy Glam. I am going to declutter this today. I just feel like they kind of led me to believe that they were a good company, and they definitely were not a good company. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. Makeup Forever palette, and this is the number 2. And this palette is absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, I've used the shit out of it, but look at how beautiful they are. The shadows, let's do this green. Those are just perfect shadows. Look at that. Like, you really can't have a better shadow. But these are probably going to expire at some point. I had them for a really long time, so, but I am keeping them for now. And this is my artistic palette. It is a 9 artist shadow palette, and this is Makeup Forever as well. This is an extremely old palette, but if I remember correctly, oh yeah, this is probably done, because I don't know if you can see that, but that blue isn't even swatching. Oh, maybe I'll take the good shadows out and put them in, because the green was fine. So maybe I'll take the good shadows out and I will declutter all the rest of this palette. From, this is Oh My Glitter, Oh My God, or Oh My Glitter is the company actually, and I was sent a lot of PR with them. They are no longer in business, but oh my gosh, these are the best shadows. They're so beautiful. I don't know if you can actually, let me see if I can get both of those in the picture. You okay? Mm-hmm. So those are the 2 palettes that I own from them, and oh my goodness, they're just absolutely beautiful. Let me just show you that purple. And then we've got, there's this gold. And then over here, these are like multi-chromes. I need to use this so much more, but look at how pretty those are. Let's see if I can get them to... They are just gorgeous. I'm really sad that they went out of business. This was the first company to notice me. This is my Pure Festival. I got this in a boxycharm. And for me, the Pure formula is really just hit or miss. I am going to keep this though, because I only have like 3 or 4 Pure palettes, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this. I have this Pure palette is the Midnight Masquerade palette, and the face products in here are really good. The eyeshadows are not bad. I have tried it, and again, I got this also in a boxycharm. I want to say this is my last Pure palette. This is my Pure times Raw Beauty Christie palette, and it's double-sided. These are really good shadows. I've actually used this in several videos, and I really liked them. The quality was great, and I feel sad for anyone that wasn't able to get them. But yeah, these are great shadows. Alright, so I have my Midas Cosmetics Flower Bomb palette. This is one of the, this is the older version. They came out with it again, and they didn't reformulate it, but they just put new packaging. So this is my Flower Bomb palette, and I love this palette. It's beautiful. The other Midas palette that I own is the La Dulce Vita, and this is also a beautiful palette. It's absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, this formula is great too. Let's see, another indie palette, indie brand is this Not Your Dolly. I received this in PR when I first started out, and this is Izzy's Dream Collection. I do not know if they are still in business, but these colors are really nice. I want to say that they order it like this and then just have it branded. So I'm pretty sure you can get this from other companies as well, just because these are not like formulated by them or pressed or anything by them, from what I think. So this was the Izzy's Dream palette. And then I have the Lisa My Love palette, and that is this one. And also it's the same situation. I'm pretty sure that they do not make these. These are outsourced. So yeah, it is pretty. I am going to keep it because it was one of my first times I received PR. So from Mocha Cosmetics, this is my Purple Paradise palette. I have used this on my channel, and this is a really pretty palette. I came up with a really nice look. So purple is my favorite color. Purple, I can't just say purple, but they're all my favorite colors. Anyhow, this one is one of my favorite palettes. And then this is a Revolution palette that I missed earlier when I did all of my makeup Revolution, but this one is different. This is a transformation palette, and these are really cool shades. All of them are like glitter, not glitter toppers, but like shimmery toppers. But look, they all have like a different kind of shift, and when you put it over a shadow underneath, it makes a totally different shadow, which is really cool. They're transformative shades. This natural, this is basically a dupe palette for the Kat Von D Metals Mattes palette, and I don't know what kind of condition these are in. Actually, they look really good. I think I'm gonna keep it because these are super like shiny and just perfect. All right, so I have this Spring Forward palette from Femier, and this is an indie company that is out of, I want to say Texas, but this is a beautiful little palette. Isn't that cute? It's a really pretty like spring palette. I have two palettes here from Max Up the Makeup, and I got these back when he first got them made. I don't remember which one was first. I want to say Flower Child was first. And this is what that one looks like. It's really beautiful. When you mix the shadows, they all mix really well together. Alright, so this is the other Max Up the Makeup palette, and it is the Ready Set Summer palette. I want to say that this is the second one that he did, but these all mix really well together as well. Beautiful palette. Palette from OFMG Cosmetics. It's the Fall Vibes palette, and this is a really beautiful palette. I have used it, I just haven't used it a ton. But yeah, I am going to keep this one. Okay, so I have the Jouer. This is the Ultra Foil eyeshadow palette. And this palette, I can't even tell you. Look how beautiful it is. It has really great shades in it. I could not say no when this palette, I mean, I think I got this probably 2 years ago. But it is a beautiful palette. Right around the same time, I got this Springtime in Paris palette, and I got it right around the same time. This is a really nice palette as well. Okay, so I have from Menagerie Cosmetics, I have the Referral palette, and this is one of my favorite formulas, is the Menagerie Cosmetics. So yeah, one of my favorite formulas of all time. IBY Poolside palette, and this is what it looks like, and I absolutely love this color story, and I love the IBY formula. It's beautiful. So yeah, the IBY Poolside, and so yeah, that stands, and just in case you wondered, IBY stands for Inspired by You. So yeah. And then I also have the City Limits palette from IBY Beauty. This is what it looks like. This one is a beautiful palette as well. Again, this formula, you can't really beat the formula of the IBY palettes. Two more IBY palettes. I have the Ocean Awakening palette. And this is another beautiful palette. Absolutely gorgeous. I think my favorite of all of them is the Enlightened palette. I just love this color story. It's gorgeous. So I have the Makeup Maniac Slay with Salma palette, and this palette is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's beautiful. I'm going to keep it. So I'm going to go do my Melt Cosmetics now. So I have the Impulsive palette, and it looks like this. And this palette is gorgeous. I have used it several times, and this is just a beautiful palette. It's put together a little bit weird, but it's really a pretty palette. And I love Melt's formula, so. And also from Melt, I have the Morte palette, and this is the palette that I ranked as my #1 palette for the year last. I think I said this is my #1 in my collection. The main reason why I love this palette so much, though, is because my husband bought it for me. So this is absolutely gorgeous, and I know it looks like I've barely used it, and that's because I want it to stay beautiful forever. So this is it. And I have my Melt Smoke Sessions palette, my Melt Cosmetics. And I lusted after this palette for ever and ever, and then finally I got it, and I am in love with this palette. It is beautiful. The shimmers are perfect. The mattes are amazing. It is a little hard to get a look out of this that's not super smoky, but I think that is the point of the Smoke Sessions palette. So yeah, this is a beautiful palette from Melt Cosmetics. Alright, so I have 3 palettes from Persona Cosmetics, and these I am not going to be getting rid of. I have the Identity palette, and this is a beautiful cool toned palette for brown eyes. It's absolutely beautiful. Shimmers in here are amazing. The mattes are awesome. This is a great palette. And then I have the Identity 2 palette, which came out, I want to say like last year. And this has some brighter colors. It's just, this formula for Persona is so good. It's just really amazing. And then I have the Copper palette, also is a beautiful palette. So I really do love Persona's formula. One is Suva Beauty, and this is their Block Party palette. And I will be keeping this. This yellow is a beautiful yellow. They have some really great shadows. The formula is beautiful. I have the Stila. This is the Eyes Are the Window of the Soul palette, and this is the Body palette. I am actually going to declutter this. I used it a couple of times. It's just not for me. So I'm going to declutter this one. I have this Oh Hi palette, and this is from Urban Outfitters, and this palette is a really good palette. Check out the shimmers on this palette. It's really pretty. And this is the palette. It's called the Treasure palette. So yeah. Alright, this is my one and only Huda Beauty palette. I got this in boxycharm. Looks like this, and it's really pretty. I haven't used it on the eyes yet. I have swatched it though. I am going to use it. We'll see what look I can come up with for this. Right, this is my Laura Lee Party Animal palette, and I really wanted this. God, it is pretty. I just don't understand why I have such an issue with it. Look at, that's why. Okay. Let's see, the pink. The pink looks good. And the blue is chalky, but I'm gonna let this one go. All right, you guys remember when I said I was telling you all about that company that sent me PR from Witchy Glam Cosmetics? Well, this is one of the worst palettes I've ever seen in my life, and they sent me this. And yeah, so I am going to declutter this. We'll do Wander Beauty because I only got one palette from them. And this palette, even though I only have one, look at how beautiful this is. Watch. This is a beautiful, beautiful formula and palette. So definitely keeping this one. I have this Uoma Beauty palette. It's the Black Magic palette. And this is a palette that I've swatched on my channel. I have not used it on my eyes yet, but I did swatch it for y'all. And I do think this is a beautiful palette. The reds and the blues, so pretty. Okay, so remember when I said that I thought I decluttered these Kylie Jenner palettes? I did not. And I am going to declutter them now, because I don't like the Kylie formula at all. So yeah, I'm definitely going to declutter those right now. And then this is the Naughty palette. So we have the Naughty and the Nice, and I'm definitely going to declutter these. I have my only Love Luxe Beauty palette, and I want to say I got this a very, very long time ago. I want to say I got this when they first came out. And this palette, I might just take out. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to declutter this. Shoot. I'm going to put it in the maybe pile and we'll see what happens. This Breakfast in Bed Beauty Bakery eyeshadow palette. I have used it, came up with a pretty look, and I am going to keep it. I want to say I got this in a boxycharm, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I will say the colors are a little bland, but to be honest, I do not have a lot of palettes that have these eye colors in them, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it. This The Balm Cosmetics Foiled Again palette, and you guys, this is a amazing formula. This is a beautiful palette. If you ever run across this, I want to say I got it for like 10 bucks at TJ Maxx. This is a really good formula. The mattes, the shimmers, everything is really good in this palette. So I 100% recommend this if you ever get a chance to get balm shadows. Is my other Makeup Maniacs palette that I was telling you I had somewhere and I didn't know where I put it. It's the Never Canceled palette. And it looks like this. And this is a beautiful palette. I love it. But yeah, so it's cool because this just says like all of the, you know, like things that were in the 80s and 90s that were never canceled, but in reality they were all canceled because they're no longer available. So yeah, they're so pretty. My favorite blue-green palette is the Ace Beauté Oceanic palette. And when I bought this, it was between this and the Menagerie Cosmetics one. And I settled on this one, and oh my gosh, it is just a perfect blue-green palette. It has every blue and every green that I could ever want. I love this palette. It's beautiful. Beauté Grandois palette. And it is this beautiful red and orange color story. It's really beautiful, and I want to say I got this in like a boxycharm. And so I have 3 Carity palettes. I have the Frost palette, and that is this palette. It is a pretty palette. I am going to keep it because you never know if you have all of these shadows or not, so I'm going to keep it. But the Carity formula I am not totally in love with. I have this Posh palette from Carity. Again, it's a good palette. It's just not my favorite formula. Some of these shadows are really beautiful. So like you've got this one. The shimmer, the really shimmery formula is really nice. The satin one I'm not super fond of, but the shimmery one I am. So yeah. I have this Unicorn Dreams palette, and this is a pastel shadow palette. And this is really pretty. I am going to keep it because I don't have very many pastel shadows. I want to say I only have the, there's a couple. I have the See You Never palette from Poppy Cosmetics, the one from Morphe. So there's a couple. I just don't have a ton, so I'm going to keep this one. Alright, so this is my one and only palette from the now defunct Blush Tribe. They have changed to a different brand. I want to say it's called Mayeli Cosmetics. So this is a beautiful palette. It is called the Hasina 2. And this is my favorite purple green palette. It's beautiful. I absolutely love this palette. It's great. And I got this Luna Magic Uno palette. And this is what it looks like. I want to say I got this in a boxycharm, and this is a beautiful palette. It is absolutely gorgeous. I'm not getting rid of it. And then I have my Alter Ego palette. So this is my Goddess palette, and this is a Natasha Denona Gold palette dupe. I actually really love this palette. Alter Ego did a really good job of duping this palette, so I do like this one. I have is the Daydream palette, and this is a Huda Beauty dupe. I do love this palette. It's beautiful. And then the last one that I have for Alter Ego is the Artemis palette, and it is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. This is gorgeous. I did have an issue with the cream to powder formula shadows, so there is that. But other than that, this is a really pretty palette. So, and I don't know if you guys have seen my what I think about Bad Habit / Alter Ego, but I really think that there's something going on there. But anyhow, there's this palette is my Artemis palette. All right, and then I have my Pinky Rose Cosmetics palette. This is the Bright Lights palette, and it is so cute and super bright. I have the Exotic Peacock palette, and I would say these are my favorite colors for the color stories of these 4 palettes. The 80s Baby palette, and this is super cute and like grungy. And then the Obsessed palette, which is also super cute. So yeah, those are my Pinky Rose Cosmetics palettes. Okay, so next I have the Divinity palette from Strobe Cosmetics, and this company changed their name to Shroud Cosmetics, and I'm actually waiting for the Butte Bean Shroud Cosmetics collaboration It's Freaking Bats palette. I have been waiting for a while, but it's just fine. I expected to wait for a long time. It's probably been about 7 months now since it went live that they were selling that palette, so I'm hoping I get it sometime in February. We'll see. Show you my OPV Beauty Spotlight palette. Now this palette reminds me of a more colorful version of my Urban Decay, one of my Urban Decay palettes, the Born to Run palette. So yeah, this one is absolutely beautiful, and this is a great company. This is a foreign brand and a brand from London. So this is beautiful. If you can get your hands on it, you should. I have 2 Sigma palettes. The Quarter Rosa palette, which is this, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I have used this several times, and this is a beautiful palette. And I will not get rid of this palette. My Enchanted palette, and this one also is absolutely gorgeous. Again, I will not declutter this palette ever. Look how beautiful that is.
How beautiful.
It's so pretty. The looks I've come up with this palette are just, look at that. They're just perfect. Those are exactly the kind of shimmers that I like too. The topper, they're so pretty. The Nomad Tokyo Harajuku palette, and this is what it looks like. I really love the Nomad formula. I don't mind the satins too much, actually, because I like to put satins in my crease. So yeah, I really like this formula a lot. So this is the Berlin palette, and I think I got this in a boxycharm. It's really like grungy. I like it. And then this is the Marrakesh palette, and again, I really like this one as well. The colors are very bright, beautiful. I have 2 palettes from Poppy Cosmetics. So this is the Neon Drip palette. It looks like this, and it really is a beautiful palette. I have used it several times before. Kind of looks like some of these shades are getting a little bit of hard pan, but you can easily get that hard pan up by using a piece of tape, so I'm not worried about that. Dedicated video to the See You Never palette, several of them, and this is the other palette that I have that is kind of more of a pastel palette. So again, that's my 3rd pastel palette that I own, and that's pretty much it. The Glaminatrix Cosmetics Sandra Rose palette, and I waited for this palette for a very long time. It left Australia and finally got to me, I want to say it was like in... So it is beautiful. However, all of the shadows have... I've had to repress 4 of the shimmers in the palette. So that kind of sucked. And then every time that I pick up the palette, all of the shadows fall out. So I need to be really careful when I pick this palette up. I spoke with Glaminatrix about it. I mean, it wasn't their fault that this took so long to get to me. It's just COVID and, you know, just everything as far as COVID goes kind of just screwed everything up. And when she spoke with the Australian Post, they basically had lost a ton of packages, and mine just ended up being one of them. So here is the Sandra Rose Glaminatrix palette. All right, next I have the Lunar Beauty Strawberry Dream palette. I actually love watching Manny and his palettes. So this is the Strawberry Dream palette, and I know it looks like I haven't used it, but I have. This is a beautiful palette, though. This blue diamond shade is crazy pigmented. Look at that. It's so pretty. And the other Lunar Beauty palette that I own is the Moonspell palette. And it looks like this, and it's actually beautiful. And I will show you what the inside looks like. This is absolutely gorgeous. I love this palette. I've used it a million times. And every look I come up with this palette is amazing. I'll do my Copacetics palettes. And this is the Victorian palette. And look at how beautiful the front of this palette is. And this is a pressed flaky palette, which is absolutely gorgeous. You just really need to use these flakies in just a special way, but they're so pretty. And then the next one I have is the Unicorn Policy, which is some pastel flakies. And you guys already know how much I love Copacetic Cosmetics. So this is the Enchanted Garden Quad. And this is the Beachside Quad. So pretty. This is the Lots of Love Quad. And the Year of the Rat Quad. Look at how pretty that is. This is the Thin Ice palette, and this is a palette that they come out with every year around Thanksgiving all the way to Christmas. This is a beautiful palette with an amazing formula. And this is the Elysian palette. This is a palette they did with Basket Case Beauty on Instagram. And this is a really great palette. And then this is the Butterfly Kisses palette. The owner, Olivia, made this palette to honor her mom, who died from cancer. So this is absolutely a beautiful palette. It's purple and pink. Last palette I have is the Companion palette, and this was made with M. Jones 5018, also on Instagram, and it looks like this. And this is meant to be a palette that is combined with other palettes to finish a look. So that is the Companion palette. So let's see, I have the Walhalla 2 palette. I have the Nubian 2 palette. I have the Walhalla palette. The Magic Mini palette. Just beautiful. The Masquerade Mini palette. The Warrior 2 palette. A beautiful neutral palette. The Festival palette. The Douce palette. The Zulu palette. The Tribe palette. The Nubian 3 Coral palette. So pretty. The Saharan palette. The Afrique palette. And the Queen palette. So I have the Sunrise palette. is beautiful. The Love palette, which is my favorite Natasha Denona palette that I own. So pretty. Of a mishmash of palettes that are all put together here, which is the Tropic palette. But this is not all tropics. There's some that is tropic. There's some from Biba. There is some shadows from some of the other palettes, the gold palette. So yeah. Then I have the Peak palette, which I got in a boxycharm. The Mini Sunset palette, which is here. The Mini Star palette, which is right here. I always wanted to get the big star palette, but I ended up not getting it because it's 130 bucks. Way too expensive for me. I have the Mini Retro palette. This one came out not that long ago. And then I have the Mini Lila palette. I also wanted to get the large Lila palette, but again, I'm not going to spend $130 on a palette. Because I have this little Neapolitan palette. Oh, shoot. This little Neapolitan palette that I've had forever. I could probably declutter this. Yeah, I think I'm going to declutter this little tiny one. Only 2 Pat McGrath palettes. I would say that I spent an arm and a leg on these, but I did not because I would not. But I have these 2. And this is the Subversive palette. And it's so pretty. And then this is the Sublime palette. So the only other palette I really, really want from Pat McGrath is the 18 shade palette that had those others. It was less expensive than most of her palettes. So that is the only one that I want from her. Just show you through there. So what it looks like, this little Petite Pro palette, which looks like this. Super cute. My favorite Viseart palette is the Golden Hour palette. I mean, this is my favorite of the ones I own, which I don't own very many, but again, this is my favorite one. It's so beautiful. So here are some of my shadows from my makeup artist kit that I own. The CAO Cosmetics is known to be a good brand, as well as Kryolan is known to be a good brand for makeup artistry. So these are my 4 makeup artist palettes that I had that I recently took out of my kit just because I haven't been doing any makeup artistry on the side lately, but these are those. My Hip Dot palettes next. So I have the Zion palette. I have the Opulence palette. The Crystals palette, which is the glitter palette. The L palette, the other glitter palette. I have the Stella Rosa, which is the Rosé All Day. The Tropical Shimmer Stella Rosa palette. And my favorite, the Taste the Magic Stella Rosa palette. This Opulence palette here. It's beautiful. I probably don't need, if I have that, I probably don't need this one. Are these the same? These are in the palette already. Yeah, so we've got extra. I think these are in the palette already. I am gonna declutter this palette. I don't need it. One palette, which I am gonna look at this small Zion palette and see. I think that these are the same palette also. Well, not the same palette, but they have, these 4 shades are the same. So I'm going to declutter that small Zion palette and keep this large one. Alright, so and then I've got this Cenote palette, which is absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to use this. I have swatched it though, and I think I uploaded it already, but there's that. Got the Happy Girl Shine Brighter palette, which I am going to declutter because I've never used this and I don't plan on using it. This Tarte palette is the volume 3. I'm pretty sure I got this in a boxycharm. And I think I'm going to declutter this one as well. It's just not, I don't know, it's just isn't doing it for me. This Tartiste Pro Amazonian Clay palette. So let's see. I have used the shit out of this, but I am going to declutter this. Dang, I'm going to end up with 0 Tarte palettes. I want to say I got this in a boxycharm as well. And this is the Tarte Clay Play palette. Clay Play. And ooh, this one still smells chocolatey. It smells great. I think I'll keep this one just in case. It has some really good shades, and it's a completely matte palette, so I can use this for a lot of different things, like for my face as well. So I will keep this Tarte palette. So I am not completely tartless. Just a little bit heartless. Alright, so I have this Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette. And I absolutely love this palette. I will not be getting rid of this now. So yeah, this is a keeper. And then I have these Too Faced palettes. And I have the Just Peachy Mattes. Which, oh my gosh, I still love this palette. And it still smells like peach. Can you believe that? I'm going to keep this palette. I have this Too Faced White Peach. And it also smells like peach still. And I do like this palette. I'm going to keep it. Now, these are palettes I use the hell out of. I just don't know if I am going to keep these. You know, I think I'm going to declutter these. See, but like this highlight is so pretty, but I have highlights, so I am going to declutter these two Too Faced palettes. So I have the Naked Smoky palette. And this is what it looks like, and I've had this for a while. But I feel like I am going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this. I've had it forever. I haven't used it in a long time. And maybe before it expires, someone will be able to get some use out of it. We'll see if my sister-in-law or my son's fiance wants any of this stuff before I just throw it out. If I have brand new stuff, I'll do a giveaway with it. And I've got my Urban Decay Born to Run palette. And this one I am going to keep. I still love this palette. This is the palette I took with us when we went to the North Pole with the kids. I am keeping this. This is some good memories. 30 palettes left. So I have the Solazzi and Jordan Liberty palette, Darkroom. And I am going to keep this palette. This Mora Stargazing palette. There we go. So this is what it looks like. I mean, it still looks good. I think I'm gonna keep it. So I have this Violet Voss Drenched Metal palette. And I am going to keep this one. It's beautiful. I'm going to keep this one. I have this Violet Voss. This is the Holy Grail palette. And this is beautiful. I got this in one of my boxycharms also. And I am going to keep this one. This is really pretty. This is the Essentials palette. I got this also in a boxycharm. I'm going to keep this one. So I have the Violet Voss Sugar Crystals palette, and I actually really like this palette. These ones for the inner corner are so pretty. I'm going to keep this one. Right, so next I have some controversial stuff. I have Jeffree Star's Conspiracy palette. And even though I don't plan on buying anything from Jeffree Star in the future, I am keeping the only palettes of his that I still own. This is his Beauty Killer palette, which I absolutely love. This pink shade is beautiful. And the Androgyny palette, which is a really good grungy palette, and I am keeping this. And then a lot of people do not like this Thirsty palette, but I actually really like it. I'm going to keep this one. I have the Jawbreaker palette, which looks like this, and I am going to keep this as well. So I have Glitter Realm, the Samarita palette, and if you guys have not tried the Glitter Realm shadow formula, it is really good. This is a great palette. And then I have the Lucid Dream eyeshadow palette too. And this is a beautiful palette. I don't know if you can see it, but the formula is just outstanding. Look at that. It's so shiny. And then, of course, even the mattes are really good. Look at that. It's a great palette. All right, I've got a couple of palettes from Be Perfect. This is the Love Tahiti palette, and this is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. Absolutely love it. It's beautiful, and it is the perfect palette to go along with the XL Pro, and those palettes both go really well together. So pretty. See, I have Dominique Cosmetics. So I have the Latte palette, which I think is her best palette. I love this. I will never get rid of it. The Lemonade palette, which I also love this palette as well. It's a beautiful palette. Next palette that she put out was Berries and Cream. And this is a really good formula. really good mattes, nice shimmers. From Didnt Cosmetics. Oops. There you go. Isn't that so pretty? Such a pretty palette. Oh. I am having some issues. I keep dropping everything. I have the Didnt Cosmetics Celestial Storm palette. And this is what that one looks like. I think this was her best colorful palette that she did. Best color story. It's so pretty. Alright, now my favorite indie company is Collective Cosmetics, one of them. And this is their Death by Light palette. So pretty. I have dedicated videos on my channel to this palette and also to their Moon Twins palette, which is my absolute favorite palette of theirs. Look at how beautiful that is. My palette is so messy, but I've used it a million times, so. Alright, and I have 3 Beauty Bay palettes. I have the Brights palette, the Evolve palette, and the Book of Magic palette. So pretty. This Book of Magic palette is one of my favorite palettes of last year. The Editor palette, which is right here. Okay, and I got the Velvet palette, which is right here. Tati Beauty palette, which is super controversial right now, but I really do love this palette. It's like my dream neutral palette, so. This palette from the Spring Festival palette from Lausch & Company. And I got this as PR, not very, I want to say about a year and a half ago when I first started. So pretty. And I got the Colored Rain Power palette, or Colored Rain times Power palette. It's so pretty. Colored Rain Lovelies palette.
I'm not a PT no more.
So pretty. The Colored Rain Vivid Pigments palette. And the Colored Rain Cheers to the Beauty palette. I really like this palette. Alright, we are nearing the end. We have the Black Moon Cosmetics, or the Full Moon palette. Orb of Light palette. And this is Odin's Eye, the Solmane palette. So beautiful. The Alva palette, also from Odin's Eye, if I can. Okay. And it looks like this. The Alva 2 palette from Odin's Eye. Looks like that. Then we have the Impressionism palette from Musée Beauty, which looks like this. Open it. This is a really beautiful palette. I love it. I love that the red is actually red. It's not a pink red. And I have the chocolate donut palette, the Miracle palette, and this adorable palette called the Cake palette. I will just open it like that. So beautiful. There we go. So pretty. All right. So I'm going to count up the palettes and decide on a couple of palettes if I'm going to declutter them or not, since they're in that basket. I feel like I did a decent job of decluttering, honestly. Considering I've never really done a real declutter before. So let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I'm going to keep this one. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, and 37. So I declared, 38. Declared 38 palettes. And thank you so much for joining me today for this crazy long video. I got rid of 37 palettes, which I know isn't very much in the whole, thick of things when you really think about it all. But you guys know I love eyeshadow, and I can't imagine that I'm just going to get rid of all of my eyeshadow palettes anytime soon. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And please, if you could do me a favor and give this video a like. Please comment down below. What do you think of my collection? Is it absolutely crazy? Or do you like the variety of brands that I own? And also, do me a favor, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel so you can see more crazy videos like this. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. So here is the finished organization of my palettes. It is what they look like. That top shelf, those are all my singles. So yeah, that is what it looks like.